Here we are. It is Friday, September 1st, Labor Day weekend in 2023. And this, of course, is the weekly video. We do these every Friday. We take a look at what's going on in the Asian art market, things that are coming up for sale from China and Japan and so forth. And as you know, we did a video earlier this week on the Marchant sale, which is going to take place on September 21st at Christie's in New York. And there are a bunch of other sales coming up, and we're going to do videos on previewing those sales. And of course, afterwards, we'll go back and take a look and see how they went, see what the market's indicating and so forth. But as I mentioned last week, there wasn't a lot of stuff on eBay. And the same is sort of true this week. I don't know what quite's going on, but there were a few lots. We didn't have many. As a matter of fact, about half of them haven't even closed yet. There were only about 15 or 20 things that we thought were worth even looking at because it's just gotten really, really quiet. So instead of belaboring that, none of the prices were particularly surprising this week. There weren't any big shocks or anything. There was one piece that sold that I did want to mention, and then we're going to talk about something very different. All right, this was up. This was a sort of a nice probably one Lee lacquer tray that came up, and I think somebody got a very good buy on this. This was a really nice thing, very unusual. You don't see these very often. They cited a couple that had been in previous auctions. It was a nice piece of lacquerware, sort of a lotus bowl, and it did pretty well. It brought $2,125, which I think was actually under the money for what it was. I would have thought it would brought maybe 4,000 or 5,000, but it didn't. And that's the way it goes. And there's some things we found to put in the newsletter, of course, this week as always. But we're going to include a link to what I want to talk about in the newsletter page this week. And I hope everybody takes a minute to look. There's a sale coming up in October at Dreweatts over in the UK, and it's the collection of Robert Kime. And if you've never heard of Robert Kime, he's somebody worth learning about. He was, I think, probably by far I don't want to use the word interior decorator, but I suppose that's what he was. The most tasteful interior decorator that's lived in England and maybe in the world for a very, very long time. And he had a long career. He just passed away last year, and Dreweatts has got the privilege of selling his collection, his personal collection. And they've done a couple of catalogs on it. They have amazing things. I want to walk through the sale because it gives you a sense of seeing what a person with phenomenal taste, a lot of knowledge, can do when they want to design something and make it very personal. The problem with a lot of interior decorators is when they get done, you can't tell who lives there. It looks contrived. The places look silly. I did a video on it a while ago where sadly today, many, many interior decorators and designers don't know anything about objects, and they rely heavily on catalogs and getting reproductions and buying all this stuff. Robert Kime was a different bird. He had an absolute love and fascination. This is a photograph of him in his library, and you get a sense of his taste just from that one picture. He had an unbelievably broad knowledge of many, many historic cultures, and he had this ability to put together places for people to live in that wanted him to work for them, to make the house not look like it's been decorated. And he made the homes look interesting. He put things in there with objects and of all kinds, from paintings to textiles to stone sculptures, to Chinese porcelain to Egyptian art, you name it, Greek art. He knew a lot about a lot of it, and he was much beloved by the museum world. Celebrities liked him. He worked for Prince Charles. He had all kinds of interesting life experiences. And he sort of left home at the age of 16 and went to Italy. And then he went into Israel and worked on archaeological sites. And he was a truly curious man. And he had absolutely amazing taste. And I want to flip through this catalog because I think it's one of the most beautiful catalogs I've seen in years from any auction house. The sale is going to do very, very well. It's an amazing auction. It's going to, I think they're going to blow the roof off with this auction. But there are two catalogs out here. There's some letters and whatnot in there from admirers, people who liked him. Prince Charles is quoted in here, all kinds of interesting people. There's a letter in here about Memories of My Father by Hannah Kime, and lots and lots and lots of photographs. But when you get into it, and as you fan through here, you start to get a sense of his unbelievable taste in color, composition, objects, how you can get things from any culture to work with some things from any other culture, and none of which drawing all the attention away from the other. Everything is an interesting and fascinating object on its own. The way he placed things, casually making them seem as though they've always been there. And that this is the sort of the hallmark of his work. Nancy Reagan once wrote a thing praising him. As a matter of fact, it's quoted in some of these articles. Andrew Lloyd Webber, all kinds of celebrities beat their way to his doorstep to have him work for them, because his results were just so amazing, and it all came out looking very natural. And he had two homes. Apparently, he had a house in the UK, and he had a house in France. And both of them were spectacularly done, and done in his taste, done on over many years, painstakingly put together. And there are some incredible rarities in here. We're going to see some of them in a minute. Just more and more and more. These are some of the rooms. This is the first day of the sale. Which is going to be on, I want to get the dates right here, October 4th will be the first sale at Warwick Square in London, lots 1 through 399, and then that's on a Wednesday. The next day, there's going to be a sale at Le Gonnet in France. So if you plan on attending both sales, you better make your travel arrangements to be able to go from point A to point B. It will be worth it. It will be worth it. Also, the estimates and if there are reserves in here, I don't think there are probably many. The estimates are very, very reasonable. It's pretty clear by those, as we've seen in the past, when they put estimates like this, they're there to sell the stuff. They're not there to try to squeeze every last time. They're going to close out this estate, and it's going to be the end of an era, unfortunately. But here are some of the things that you see in here. In particular, you're going to see some beautiful ceramics, beautiful pieces of furniture, and beautiful textiles. Great textiles. We'll just, on the right, for example, is a very, very early 17th century Mughal carpet. Estimated at $15,000 to $25,000. Yeah, it's worn, but boy, what a rug. And then you have lots and lots and lots of art. You have stone sculpture. He hung carpets on the walls like tapestries, because that is not a bad way to display great rugs. Lots of pencil sketches, stonework, this sort of thing, rear clocks. And then you come across like things like this, a lotto rug. And those of you that are interested in rugs and carpets know that lotto rugs don't turn up very often. And this one has absolutely, again, stupendous colors, beautifully done. This is probably a 17th century rug. I didn't read the description yet. First half of the 17th century. Absolutely beautiful and rare. It's estimated at 30 to 50,000 pounds. I think it'll probably bring a lot more than that. And then you have this rug, a small pattern Holbein rug, very, very rare, beautifully done and in remarkable condition. Okay, and it dates to the 16th century, estimated at $50,000 to $70,000. Holbein rugs became well known for the artist Hans Holbein, who often included them in paintings, sitting on tabletops. And you may remember, if you've seen Holbein paintings, there'll be a carpet like this on a tabletop used as a table cover, which was a thing that they did back then, and we'll have maybe a Wanli bowl in the middle of it filled with fruit. And that sort of thing. And then you have all these other things, pencil sketches, tapestry back chairs, all this business. Here's a sitting room in the house. Again, perfectly put together, spectacular mirror. And if you take a moment to look at these photographs, this is really how you learn about this stuff. select individual objects. When most interior decorators do places, the individual objects themselves aren't that great or fabulous or interesting. But when you look at the scene in overall, it looks appealing. It's visually attractive. In his case, he did the exact opposite. He picked spectacular things and sprinkled them in together like friends in a scene where everything that you looked at on its own stands out as a good example. And here you can see it with the artwork, the carpet, the tables that he selected, the types of lamps that he used, the lampshades, the mirrors, all of it came together perfectly. And all of these objects are things that anybody with any taste would want in their own house. All right. And then they go through and they've got this sort of more standard looking sort of catalog layout. Lots of interesting things, lots of jars, lots of mirrors, tabletops and so forth. Very fine paintings, interesting, evocative paintings. Here is one by, who's this? Watts, I think. Yeah, George Frederick Watts, English painter, died in 1904. $15,000 to $25,000 estimate, but very, very atmospheric and beautifully framed. And then moving along here, this is one of my favorite paintings in his house. It's an English school portrait of a man holding an axe. They don't know who painted it, but I just love that look. The colors are great. The facial expression is fabulous. And the painting stands up on its own. And he didn't buy it because it was by some famous artist. He bought it because it was aesthetically outstanding. And that's what makes it such a great thing. The estimate is 10 to 15,000 pounds. I think that painting will probably go beyond that. It hung over his mantle in his living room. Again, beautifully done. And you just keep going. In every scene, you see just dozens and dozens of fascinating objects. And if you were in that room, you'd want to go over and pick the thing up and look at it. And this is the sign of a great home, a great residence, where it's just full of eye candy for you to enjoy every minute of the day, how it changes in the light of the day, light of the morning versus light of the evening, how it looks by candlelight, and very, very atmospheric and very, very fulfilling a way to live. All right. And some people may say, oh, it looks cluttered. It doesn't look organized. That's the point. It's supposed to look like a natural accumulation over many, many centuries of what a person with curiosity about the world around him would bring home to enjoy. All right. And it just goes on and on and on. And there are some great pieces of early, there's some Iznik in here from Turkey. There's some very good Persian pottery. There's some Kütahya pottery up here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Turkish stuff from the Ottoman Empire. And then you have these grand rooms with tastefully decorated walls. And notice all of his paintings in here are hanging on rails. Why? Because he probably liked to move things around and he didn't want to go punching holes in the wall every time that something new came in or he wanted to adjust. He was always working on his, making his environment pretty obviously, making it the way he wanted it, the aesthetic of having it the way he wanted it. And you see it again, and you see it in every room. You see it in every single room. And it goes on and on and on. There are two catalogs in here. There's this one, and then there's the house in France. I would suggest you go there. There will be a link below the video here to the Dreweatts sale. But I want to go through some of the Chinese things, because that's often what we talk about most. But take a look at the carpets, especially the carpets. The carpets are amazing, and some of the Chinese things in there are quite nice. And what's nice about the Chinese objects and the Asian objects that he picked, especially the ceramics, he didn't not buy them because they might have had a restoration or a chip or a crack. He bought them, and we've talked about this many times. He bought things based on the quality of the object, and he liked the warts and all, even if they had some condition issues. All right, like this piece of Amari. All right, beautifully decorated. It's got a repair, so they added this extremely tasteful top with these handles on the side. All right, 18th. They're saying it's 18th to 19th century. I think it's pretty clearly an early 18th century one. I don't agree with the 19th century dating. Estimated at let's see, the opening bid is 1,300 pounds. Should easily get there. Very, very nice. And then this Kangshi period swirl decorated jar. It's been repaired, it's been cut, and everything else, but it's marvelous. And that's the kind of thing that he liked. All right, and I guarantee you that he probably didn't care much or couldn't care less about this break in it. He bought it because of what it was, how beautiful it was, how beautifully done it was, and how interesting it is. All right. And what was the estimate on that? Let's take a look. I don't think the estimate was much on this. 180 pounds start, 3 to 400 pound opening, 3 to 400 pound estimate. It's 25 inches tall. All right. Excuse me. Still getting over my cold. And then this 17th century Japanese Amari jar that's been made into a table lamp. Estimated at 8 to 1,200 pounds with a 700 pound opening bid. This lovely Kangshi jar. And they've got condition reports on everything, so you can go through and read them. They've got repairs, they've got bumps, they've got warts, all kinds of little issues. But focus on the object. Focus on the object, how interesting it is. And this here, you have a Kangshi pot that's been robustly decorated, very unusually decorated, not the typical Kangshi fare, and great color. That's the kind of thing that you see. The estimate is 1,500 to 2,500 pounds with a 1,300 pound opening bid. And then over to this is a bunch of Wan Li wares in here, bowls and jars. We're going to get to them. Some of them have three or three jars and a lot. Is this nice big Wan Li bowl? It's 36 centimeters in diameter. It's got several pieces have been restored to it and so forth. But again, very interesting, wonderful looking, and not too heavily fritted. I don't know what the repair is, but the estimate is only 600 to 800 pounds with a 550 pound opening bid. And here's another one. This one is just about the same size, 35 centimeters in diameter. Nice looking bowl. There's a picture of the interior of it with the sort of European landscapes, Dutch landscapes, which is rather unusual for Wan Li, and figures in a boat and so forth. And estimated at just 400 to 600 pounds. It's been restored, but the workmanship is so good. I don't know why anybody would care. I don't know why anybody would care, because this is much better. It's a much more interesting bowl than 90% of the other blue and white Wan Li bowls that you've seen around. And then there's a wonderful Ming Celadon, Longquan Celadon, great color. They have how did they date this? What do they say? 16th to 17th century. I think it's a little older than that. I think it's probably 15th century, but that's just my opinion. I think they're very conservative on the dating. I noticed in this catalog. This is 44 centimeters in diameter, about 17 inches wide. It has a crack in the body, but the estimate is only 8 to 1,200 pounds. But look at the color of this piece of this Longquan. That is beautiful color, beautiful glaze, very, very even, meticulously glazed, well decorated. The piece, to me, this looks like a masterpiece. It looks really, really wonderful. And it's got a crack in it. I can't see the crack, though. I think maybe that's it right there. I'm not sure. You'd have to find out from them, but it's a great thing. And if it goes for 8 to 1,200 pounds, it's an absolute steal. Should bring 10 or 15,000, even in that condition. There's a Kangshi period beaker, a nice looking one, a pretty good size. It is 64 centimeters, so it's over 2 feet tall, and it's got that wonderful sketching. I don't know if I can blow this up anymore. Hold on. There. This type of patterning where they outlined and then they sketch it in, coloring it in, and so forth, but very, very finely painted is the point. And it's got an area of rim restoration. That's it. The estimate is very reasonable, 1,500 to 2,500 pounds. Should bring 5,000 to 7,000 pounds with a 1,300 pound opening estimate. And then there's a kendi. You got to always have a kendi. And this is a particularly pretty one, Chinese, late Ming, nice, one of the broad spout models, beautifully done, nice panels going around it, very, very good quality cobalt. The cobalt quality on this was excellent. It's got a crack in the body and so forth. It's only estimated at 500 to 800 pounds. And as you can see, the Chinese stuff in here is very reasonably estimated. You've got a couple of transitional period blue and white vases. I like the little pear vase in particular. It's really quite charming. There you go. Down here, this is a nice little piece of transitional ware. beautifully done. And the big vase also is beautifully done. It's been topped off, but you get the two of them are estimated at just 400 to 600 pounds. All right, and this is why I'm saying if you're interested in this stuff, you should really take a look at this auction. And then you have this 41 centimeter tall, or about what does that work out to? That works out to about 16 inches or so, I guess. This very nice scrolling and flower Wanli jar. Just a really great looking example with a cafe lip on it. The estimate is 4,000 to 6,000 pounds. It appears to be in pretty good shape. It's got some hairline cracks, but that's about it. It doesn't mention any repairs, but a splendidly beautiful example. Again, quality, quality, quality. I absolutely loved some of this stuff in here. Then you've got a couple of ewers. The one on the right, I think, is particularly attractive. Nice form, well-rounded body, beautiful color, and again, spectacular quality cobalt. And then this one has English mounts all over it. It's a really, really nice example. Estimated at just 300 to 500 pounds for the two. Let's see here. I guess the one on the left is technically a chocolate pot now. 180-pound opening bid for both of them. All right, and then this, we get into some of the Wanli jars. He's got a number of these in this sale. This one has the character that you often see on Jai Jing wares, and on some Wanli pieces too. But very nicely done with these bronze acanthus leaves running around the top, capping it. I suspect that could probably be removed if you didn't want them. I happen to think it's a great addition. I think it looks excellent. And 800 to 1,200 pound estimate. And then you have this, a Ming fish jar, 17th century, beautifully, beautifully done, very classical. Again, very nice. All of his porcelains, other than for a couple of examples, the Japanese piece and the Kangshi piece, they're nearly all blue and white. Here's another blue and white Kangshi Beaker vase, beautiful quality. Here's a pair or two of these big Wanli jars. You see them all the time, and they generally bring 3,000 to 5,000 each. And here they have a pair of them estimated at 3,000 to 5,000. There's no mention of any condition issues with them. 2,600 pound opening bid. It's a bargain. Okay, and these are good size. These are 40 centimeters tall. Good size. Here's a lot of three of them. Again, 3,000 to 5,000 pound estimate for all three. Okay, with a 2,600 pound opening bid. They apparently are in good shape, but you want to do check and get a condition report. But you absolutely, if you're a Ming Jar buyer, and two of them have lids. One of them has, it looks like a bronze handle that's been applied to the lid, and this one has its original lid over here. And all of them are a little bit different, which makes them very interesting. So it's like a little mini instant collection. You can see the looting line running around this one right in the middle. Estimated, as I said, 3,000 to 5,000 pounds. And here is another group of three, not the same. I know they look at, but they're not. Here's another group of three, again, 4,000 to 6,000. The biggest one is 49 centimeters tall. That's a great big one. So that is around 20 inches tall. I assume it's the one in the foreground. And then you have these two in the background that look like they're pretty much a pair, from what I'm seeing. So you get a pair of them plus this big one in the front, 4,000 to 6,000 pounds. And then you have this, the Japanese Arita, 17th century, that's been made into a table lamp. A very nice one with faceted sides. There you go, in a very simple, elegant, tan-colored shade. That's all it needed, he felt. And it's got, I can see a crack in it here and there. But look at the workmanship, the quality of the cobalt. It's always about the quality. Boy, that's a beautiful thing. All right. And then on to the next is this Japanese or Chinese. They call it Japanese. I'm not so sure. Maybe it is. Stoneware pot. I guess it is Chinese. Yeah, I guess it is. It's got some old kintsugi repairs to it. I don't know, that could be Japanese. You'd have to pick it up and handle it. But it's 32 centimeters tall, 18th to early 19th century, estimated at just 250 to 350 pounds. And then you have a Kangshi Bowl, sort of a Clampets bowl. 19 centimeters in diameter. It's had a couple of repairs to it, but the estimate's only 400 to 600 pounds. And then you have a couple more Kangshi, the bottom of a Kangshi, probably a long sleeve neck vase, and this wonderful little jarlet over here that caught my eye. That is very attractive um, on the left. And that looks to be complete. It might have had a lid or something with it at some point, but that's a very fine piece of blue and white. Beautifully, beautifully painted. I can see why he bought it. And this looks like the bottom of one of those long neck vases that's been cut for whatever reason. You have to find something to do with it. But the estimate's nothing, 400 to 600 pounds. Absolutely great. Let's see, small jar for the Islamic market is how they described it. I think that's probably right. And then over here to this 17th century jar, another Ming jar fitted as a lamp again, with a bit of color in the shade. I like that. That's actually a good combination. Again, 600 to 900 pounds. And then at the end, you have this really great star Ushak carpet, estimated at 20 to 30,000. But what a great rug. And this is the kind of stuff that you're going to see in this sale. Absolutely fascinating stuff. And do take some time to go through it. Go over to and look at the second catalog. This place in France. The gardens are beautiful. Everything is attractively done. They also did a couple of videos on that'll be on their website where you can look and have a sort of a tour of the place and hear the voices of people who knew him well, that were his real friends, people that liked him. He had an open shop, Kimes, in his little town, and people would stop in there, famous people, rock stars, regular people just interested in things, and this is his place in France. Again, absolutely great, absolutely beautiful, beautiful textiles, carving, sculpture, metalwork, glass. You name it. Outdoor wares, outdoor furniture, outdoor benches, carved iron and carved wood, Chinese chairs. Here and here, you get a pair of 18th century chairs, estimated just $800 to $1,200. A nice looking pair of vernacular chairs or country chairs, and on and on. There's that carpet, and on and on and on and on. But it's a real treat to see something that is done so tastefully and in so many different ways, with so many different cultures, so many different styles, in proving that you can put together these things, and if they're truly great things will always go with truly great things and interesting things. And he built these environments, and he did them for other people that would come to him, see what his taste was. And if that's what they would like to see in their own environment, this is what he gave them. And two of the jars that really caught my eye up here, they say that I don't know what they are. It just says possibly North African 19th century. This nice pair of jars that look almost like Kangshi wares, but they're not obviously, but beautifully done, a little over a foot tall each. So it gives you a chance to, if you're looking for interesting things, it gives you a chance to acquire it. Hold on. Oh, I'm back. Okay. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I've been watching this sale come along. I saw an advertisement for an advert that Dreweatts put out a couple of months ago when they first started talking about this auction. And I looked at it and I went, wow. I didn't know Mr. Kime had died, because I don't have much to do with what's going on in England. And I was absolutely thrilled to hear that one company was going to be handling all of it. And I think it's going to be a booming success. I think it's going to be an auction that draws a lot of press and a lot of interest in the results. And I think you're going to see a lot of loyal customers buying from them. But I also think there's going to be some opportunities, especially if you can attend this sale. There might be some very good opportunities because there's so much material. About over 1,000 lots, I think, and then there's a last section of his reference library that's being sold as well. Worth looking at if you're building a reference library. But as you can see, it's basically nonstop from beginning to end of great looking things, great color, great shapes, great forms from all different cultures. So it's really, really something. And these are the kind of estates and kinds of collections you don't see very often anymore. And this was done over the course of his long life, and starting at a very young age. starting at a very, very young age. And he has since also encouraged interest in a myriad of things, I guess, with his own children, from what I read. And what a lucky bunch of kids to have a dad like this. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. It's Friday. There's not a lot else going on until we get to the videos on the sales in New York. But I thought something fun to look at over the weekend. And as I said, the links to these catalogs and I'll put the link for the whole auction down below this video, and you can go over and spend some time there poking around. And if you see something in there, you might want to register and try to go after it, because I think it's going to be an opportunity to get something really interesting from a very interesting collection of a man that had a huge following, a lot of friends, and I've read quite a bit about him over the years and never read an unkind word about him, and I never heard of him speaking an unkind word about anybody else. Which is pretty rare in the decorating field. But he apparently was very much loved by everybody. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Fall is here. And thank you again to all of those who have decided to help out the site and the overhead and so forth by joining us on Patreon. It's very much appreciated. As you know, we are posting all of the weekly videos. A duplicate video is being loaded onto Patreon. So if you join and if you become a Patreon subscriber, you can watch all the videos we do ad free, because YouTube does insert ads. It's part of the deal. If you don't let them put ads on, they basically kill your channel. They say they don't, but I know they do, because we tried it. And have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. We've got some good videos coming up. And thanks again. All right. Bye-bye.